Have you ever listened to a piece of music so good it makes the hair on your arm stand up? Today we look into the cognitive science behind why you get chills when you listen to certain pieces of music. I'm Kevin McAllister. This is The Chat. I'm joined in studio today by Matt Sachs, a PhD candidate in brain and cognitive science. Matt, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
So about a year ago, you published a study on the brain's response to music. Can you tell me in one sentence kind of what the point of the study was and how you got into music and how you got into the subject matter of this study?
Sure, yeah. I've always been a musician myself and have had experiences, intense emotional experiences to music. So I've always been interested in studying why exactly that is. Why would we be able to have these intense, pleasurable experiences to something as simple as just sounds evolving over time? And so this study in particular, we were looking at people who get chills in response to music, which is this kind of tingling sensation, hair standing on end that is often accompanied by a pleasurable response to music. We wanted to look at people who say they always get chills to music and people who say they rarely, if ever, get chills to music, and then see if the differences in personality, the differences in these experiences, can be explained by different structural differences in their brain.
And when you say kind of like chills in response to music, was that something that you yourself had experienced, or had you been told by other people that they had experienced that and that is what piqued your curiosity?
Kind of both. I've had responses that would be similar to chills, maybe not the actual experience, but something intense like a lump in the throat or heart racing. Chills in particular is interesting because it's a biological response to fear or coldness. I mean, hair standing on the end, that's a deeply rooted evolutionary response to like cats have it when they want to seem larger than they are, for example. So it's confusing to me when I started reading about these responses that this would be the particular response that you get to music. And why cold? Generally, chills is something to warm us up when we're cold. So I thought there was something very particular about chills that was interesting. At the same time, I've had other similar related experiences, maybe not so much the chills.
So, and you did this study not here at USC, but while you were at Harvard. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of us have kind of an intellectual curiosity, something that we might hear something, we may have kind of that notion of chills or something interesting. Why is that the response? But the next step, how did you go from kind of intellectual curiosity, something that you found interesting, to putting it to the test, to actually being able to publish this kind of report?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was working at the time as a research assistant in a lab that does a lot of work on studying the emotional responses to music or just the effects of the brain on music. It's a lab that's actually well known for pioneering a type of treatment for stroke recovery patients and children with autism, both of which often have problems with language. They use this thing called music intonation therapy, where they retrain a person to regain their ability to speak by actually teaching them to sing language first and then slowly shifting back into normal cadenced language. So mm-hmm. This lab attracted me, and I really wanted to get started working on projects like that. And then when I was given the opportunity to work on a project of my own, chills was sort of the first thing that came to mind. So I had this system in place already there for me, and it was just a matter of working with my advisor to design the study and then get it done.
And when you devised the study, I mean, what kind of music did you use to try to evoke the response, and how did that work?
Well, we started by trying to find pieces that we could get a large group of people to reliably get chills to. That turned out to be pretty near impossible. It's very, very selective. People have a wide range of pieces that they say they get chills to. So instead, we just had people bring in the pieces that they thought were their favorites, the ones that they get chills to. In the group that reliably gets these intense emotional responses, these were pieces that give them chills. In the other group, it was just their favorite pieces of music. Mm-hmm. And then we counterbalanced it so that people listened to other people's favorite music as a control, so we could compare.
Was there any kind of similarity? Were there any songs that seemed to give people chills more than others? Were there any repeats?
There were a couple repeats and a couple overlaps. Let me see if I can think of them right now. There's Hallelujah, Jeff Buckley came
mm-hmm.
up a couple times. The second movement of Beethoven's Seventh Symphony. A couple Bon Iver songs were, I don't know if it was the same song multiple times, but one or two Bon Iver songs were there. Radiohead, Nude came up a couple times. Mm-hmm. A couple Radiohead songs.
Was there any correlation at all between kind of age and this feeling of chills, or was it kind of spread across the board?
I haven't seen anything with age and chills. There's a couple things personality-wise or demographic-wise that is correlated with it. A study a while ago hypothesized that women experience chills in response to music more than men because the chill response has to do with mimicking the distress calls of their young, and which is more commonly, evolutionary speaking, the role of females. But I think a lot of that study hasn't really been shown again. It's the most common predictor is openness to experience, which is one of the big 5 personality traits. This like pursuit of new and interesting and creative things. That's a big predictor of whether or not you experience chills or not.
I'm not looking for an exact number, but did most of the people in the experiment that you designed end up getting chills from kind of the experience to art, or was it split 50-50 down the middle?
So it was actually designed that way. So we had 2 groups. One group who said they got chills, and then we validated that they did get chills when they listened to their favorite piece of music. And then another group that said they never get chills, and we validated that they did not, in fact, experience chills. So
and when you say validation, how did you actually go about validating?
So we had them listen to their favorite pieces of music while we recorded heart rate and skin conductance, which is a measure of arousal. And then we had them using a slider on a computer screen and press a space bar, they were reporting their experience. So we had subjective ratings as in real time as they were listening to their favorite pieces of music, as well as heart rate and like a general measure of arousal. So we found that in the group that says they get chills these pieces, every one of them did report that while they were listening, they did experience a chill. And in the other group, nobody reported experiencing a chill.
So going forward, I mean, you obviously were able to kind of answer a question about chills. Is the idea of more cognitive studies into the brain's response to music, is that kind of where you see your next steps, or what are you working on now that you're here at USC?
Right, so USC, I'm trying to continue those types of studies. I'm working right now on a couple of studies with emotional responses to music and maybe film too. One is why people listen to sad music. That's where I think my dissertation, my thesis are going. So that we're trying to figure out what is this appeal and attractiveness about sadness when it's expressed through film and music, because it's something that we don't often report liking when we experience it in everyday life, and yet through music and film, it's very, very common for people to love sad music. So I'm designing a similar type study where we're actually going to track the neural responses of people over a long period of time while they're either viewing a sad film or listening to a sad piece of music.
Interesting. When do you plan to kind of start that? Are you in the design
I'm starting
phase?
It now. Yeah.
Very cool.
It's in the very, very beginning. I'll keep you posted on how it goes.
Very much so. Well, Matt Sachs, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks so much.